How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with Alex and Ryan. So, yesterday, Ha-Sung Kim signs a 2-year, $29 million deal with the Tampa Bay Rays, our rival. Of course, the Yankees pass on that. He has a shoulder injury. He's still rehabilitating it. And, would have offered the Yankees an elite defensive player at second base. I think, Ryan, you said to me he wanted to play shortstop. The Yankees obviously have Anthony Volpe there, so they're not going to move him. And he didn't really want to go to second base or third base. So I think, for the most part, this was a decision that he wanted the specific spot, and the Rays were willing to give it to him. And the Yankees, they're still trying to get rid of Marcus Stroman. And I think until they do that, we'll see how aggressive they are in making another move. But the only really good free agent left at an infield position is Alex Bregman. And it doesn't seem as though the Yankees are about to spend 25 plus mil on Bregman in free agency. So, trade market is really what we're looking at. The alternatives, backups really, depth pieces, Jorge Polanco, Brendan Rodgers, Jose Iglesias, like those are the type of guys that are left on the market that we can probably afford. And even then, I think the Yankees are trying to pinch pennies based on what, we heard from Jeff Passan yesterday on the Michael Kay show. He's like, the Yankees are not operating like a hedge fund. They're operating like a team with an owner. And, Hal Steinbrenner's kind of pinching pennies right now at the luxury tax threshold. So, I do think that there is a lot of limitations being put in place for the Yankees, and their infield options on the free agent market, I just don't see them spending any more money there. I think it's going to have to be getting rid of Stroman and acquiring a player on a cost-control deal that's already in arbitration. That's how I see things progressing if they are going to make a big infield upgrade. And, dude, Aaron Boone listing DJ LeMahieu and Oswaldo Cabrera and Oswald Peraza really grinded my gears, because I'm like, we know Cabrera is going to be the utility man most likely. We don't think he's going to start. I love him in the utility place. I don't want him starting. Peraza is a humongous risk. LeMahieu is completely washed. I don't feel so good about this right now. We know they have to make one more move, and I think they know that too, Ryan. But how are you feeling after Kim signs this deal and kind of the outlook of the Yankees moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating because Ha-Sung Kim signed what was an affordable deal. It's the kind of deal that if you or I were presented with, the Yankees are going to sign him to this deal, what would you say? I'd be like, home run, great, A+, very happy. There are some variables here that matter in some context that, it's frustrating, but does matter. Even if you don't want to hear it, it does matter. It was frustrating yesterday for me because, I come out of a haircut, man. Check my phone, I'm feeling good, man. Check my phone. 8 minutes ago, Ha-Sung Kim is a Tampa Bay Ray. I'm like, God damn it, man. But in regards to the contract, look, the Tampa Bay Rays are offering him the ability to play shortstop. The Yankees could not offer him that. I'm under the impression, or I'm of the belief that it's, I know that playing shortstop was important for Ha-Sung Kim, and that if given the opportunity to play for two teams at similar prices, he would have picked the team that gave him the opportunity to play shortstop. He would have taken opportunities to play shortstop before he considered opportunities to not play shortstop. And it makes sense given the way that the market values shortstops compared to the way the market values second baseman or third baseman. Look at Willy Adames, who just signed a $160 million deal this winter. Look at the deals for shortstops compared to the deals for second baseman or third baseman. It's just not really close. And I understand it. And then you have to also add on financially speaking, Florida, look at the tax in Florida, compare them to New York. So if the Yankees want to, beat a Rays offer in terms of just straight finances, the Yankees would have to offer Kim something that's greater than 2 years, $29 million. Again, would I have offered him more than 2 years, $29 million? Yes. Would it have mattered? Unfortunately, there's no way to really know, considering how big of a role being a shortstop plays here, because he clearly wants to sign this deal, opt out, and hit the market again. Now, the other thing that matters here in regards to Ha-Sung Kim and the rest of the infield market as a whole is that with Kim off the board, the affordable quality free agent option that kind of satisfies all the Yankees' needs with their infield is off the board. I know that Jorge Polanco is still out there and he's an affordable option, but I think you and I can agree, Alex, that there are things that he just doesn't do that would leave us not satisfied. He's not a good defensive player. He keeps Jazz at third base. You'd have to play Polanco at second. Maybe the Yankees play Polanco at third, but I think they know they're getting a rough defender there. I don't think it makes sense with the identity of this team, with what you're trying to do with this team, to bring a negative base runner and a negative defender into the equation. If I'm the Yankees and, I'm looking at the market right now, I've talked about Nico Hoerner. Again, that's dependent on the Astros not landing Bregman and the Cubs landing Bregman. I don't think the Cubs will land Bregman. The player I'm looking at, and in terms of realistic option would be Willie Castro, who's a switch hitter, entering his age 28 season, $6.4 million owed to an arbitration, 1 year left on his deal, 108 WRC plus last season, a 3.1 F4, a quality glove at third base, good speed, aggressive hitter when it comes to pitches in the zone. He's improved his ability to make contact on pitches in the zone. He's someone who could provide positive base running value, positive defensive value, and be an above average hitter. And Alex, here's the kicker. If he played all of his home games at Yankee Stadium, he would have hit 5 more home runs. That pushed his number from 12 to 17 on the season. That's a pretty sizable difference. So, Alex, I'm not sure how you feel about Castro or how you feel about the other options on the market right now, but he stands out to me as the most attainable, most realistic, and best possible option for them to get, considering their needs at third base and or second base.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting situation to be. You're talking about acquiring Willie Castro?
Yeah, Willie Castro. What you're saying? Yes.
Okay. So, what I'll say about Willie Castro, I mean, he's 27, right? Like, that's obviously very attractive. He's a free agent in 2026. Good player, slightly above average offensive piece, but he's a great defender. And, like, that's kind of where I keep going back. And we heard in Jorge Castillo's article on ESPN this morning, saying that the Yankees are not involved in Bregman's market, and they're not involved, and they don't want Nolan Arenado, right? And we were kind of like, Ryan, well, if everything else fails, I guess we're fine with Nolan Arenado. And a lot of people are like, well, he's this, he's that. Guys, like, I know Yankee fans, and we're trying to prepare you for the fact that you are going to rip him apart the second you see something you don't like. And Nolan Arenado is a horrible fit in Yankee Stadium. And the second you see him pull the ball to left field over and over, and they're outs, and they're outs, and they're outs, you're going to get pissed. And the reason for that is because you've been watching Gleyber Torres for a couple years, and you've been watching him slap opposite field homers to right field all the time. And then second half of the year, he's punching him into the outfield. He hits it the other way, hits it up the middle, makes really good contact. Arenado is a league average player. And yeah, he plays a lot of games, and his defense is what makes him so freaking good. And I love the run prevention aspect of it. But offensively, what he did with the Cardinals would be, and he was league average, would be even worse with the Yankees because of the fit in Yankee Stadium. So he'd be a below average offensive piece, and you'd be in our comments saying, why is he not hitting? Why can't he hit? Why does he suck? We know the freaking routine, guys. We're right there with you. Same thing would happen with Luis Arias, by the way, who's an amazing hitter. Amazing. But lefty contact hitters do not profile well for Yankee Stadium. They don't. And at the same time, he's one of the worst infield defenders. So the next time, you see a ground ball going to second base and Luis Arias botches it when they need a double play to get out of an inning and you guys are freaking out about it, well, remember, we told you so. That's just the reality of what baseball is like. We're trying to find a balance here. A good offensive player, good enough offensive player, and a very solid defender. And Ryan, Willie Castro's one of those guys, right? He's one of those guys that he checks a couple boxes for you because he's a fine offensive player. Hits 247 last year, 12 homers and 60 RBIs, and he can steal some bags. He's not going to blow you away, but a 108 WRC plus is above average. Actually, it was better than Gleyber Torres' WRC plus last year. I know Torres had a really hot second half of the year, but that's the Torres experience, right? Like, he is a ghost one half and then a monster the second half. You just hope to God the second half is where he heats up, and luckily for the Yankees, it did last year. But that's just you kind of ride that roller coaster with him. Castro was a 3.1 WARP guy last season. That's the highest of his career. Defensively, obviously, as you said, very, very solid. Has 458 career innings at third base, has a 976 fielding percentage, all above average advanced metrics. Like, he's a good enough defender. They're not going to have any problems. He can also play second base if you need him to, but I know the Yankees have already committed to Jazz Chisholm at the spot. So, you can live with this move. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. He's on the Twins. The Twins are not really that competitive, and he has one more year left of arbitration. Ryan, what would you be willing to give for Willie Castro? And let me remind you guys, like, this is not a big needle mover for the Yankees by any means, but he is a hell of a lot better than DJ LeMahieu. So let's just look at it in context with what we have. He is a hell of a lot better than DJ LeMahieu. And that is what we're trying to figure out. How can we get someone better who doesn't compromise the infield's defense when we have two of the best run prevention pitchers in the game? Like, these things do matter. The equation, the puzzle here matters, right? You don't just get two elite run prevention pitchers and then give him the worst freaking defense possible. That's malpractice. That's against the logic of why you make these decisions. Everything has to have a flow and a purpose and a reason, right? getting a guy like Willie Castro allows you to have good defense without compromising the offense either. So it's not going to move the needle a ton. He's not a blockbuster move, but he's a hell of a lot better than what we have now.
I agree. And, part of the conversation we're trying to have with the infield is recognizing that options are flawed, options are limited, and that the Yankees have to do something. And, one thing I will say in regards to Luis Arraez, I think you and I agree that he is a deeply flawed player, but, is he better than DJ LeMahieu? Yeah. But again, as you mentioned, if you're expecting him to be a good defender or to not have warts, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. The same way with Willie Castro, if you're setting yourself up for this 25 home run season, 40 steals, blah, blah, so on and so forth, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up to be disappointed. In regards to Willie Castro, Luis Arraez, those kinds of guys, what I want to emphasize is the importance of doing something. The worst thing the Yankees could do is nothing. That is the worst thing they could do. Don't tell me wait until the deadline. Let me tell you what the Dodgers say about waiting until the deadline. It doesn't make sense. You want to have as complete of a roster as you can going into the season because prices at the deadline are very high and it's very hard to acquire the kinds of players you're looking for when there are so many teams competing for those players and, more importantly, in recent years, not as many teams clearly out of contention. Who would have thought that the Tampa Bay Rays weren't going to sell? They didn't. And that's a team that does like to sell. They didn't sell off Yandy Diaz or Brandon Lowe. They held on to certain guys because they said, we're not going to completely tear it down. We're not in it this year, but we can certainly rebuild and be back to where we're supposed to be in 2025. There are just teams who didn't choose to sell, like teams who were out of it who did not choose to fire sell. And that's going to happen in baseball. The Rangers didn't sell. They had multiple attractive bullpen pieces that I wanted the Yankees to look into. The Giants didn't sell. They had multiple pieces. Blake Snell, Matt Chapman, who I was seriously interested in. So again, Alex, you're not going to get teams to sell off players when they're 500 at the deadline. So when you've got, 6 or 7 teams gunning for one player and they're the only quality player available at that position, and you look at the Yankee farm system, they're not going to compete with those teams for that player. They're not going to get the player, guys. When if God forbid, I say God forbid as if this would be bad for the Yankees. If the Cubs were bad and Kyle Tucker was available, you mean to tell me the Yankees got the best offer for Kyle Tucker with this farm system? The odds are pretty low of that, Alex. The odds are pretty high that another team with a better farm system would walk in and say, you know what? It's half a year. We may not be able to secure the player long term, but we desperately need the player. We're going to go make the acquisition. Teams don't make trades for players just with the intention of signing them. Some teams just make trades for players because they have a surplus of guys in their farm system and they want to contend for a World Series title and reward their fan base with a World Series title. So if the New York Yankees game plan is to wait until the deadline, that is a failing game plan. It goes against the Dodgers game plan, and the Dodgers game plan is a winning game plan. If you're going to try and build up this idea, and if you're the Yankees, you're going to try to sell this vision to fans that they're fine in the infield, it's bull crap. Let me tell you this right now. Eric Hubbs and Barstool reported this, and I will buy him on this because he's been right about a lot of things with the Yankees this winter. He said the Yankees were going to DFA DJ LeMahieu and when they were calling up Dominguez, and veterans pushed for them to for them not to. Now, if you remember on that day, a lot of social media buzz was about DJ LeMahieu maybe getting DFA'd. So that does line up with that report. Furthermore, if they were considering DFAing LeMahieu and they just put him on the IL to put him on the IL and prevent a DFA because veterans walked up to him, which is a whole other conversation in and of itself of stupidity. They cannot sell you that the guy is a major leaguer. They cannot sell you that this guy's a starting third baseman. I bet they're pissed, Alex. Pissed that story got out. Because now that story's out there, what are they going to tell you? DJ LeMahieu looks great. You're going to cut the guy. You thought he was trash. You were going to cut him. You think he's terrible. You don't think he's a major leaguer. You cannot sell us that he is. Oswaldo Cabrera's a utility guy. And also, it's another thing. If LeMahieu's so bad he should be DFA'd, he shouldn't be guaranteed a spot on this team. He should have to earn it in spring training. No, he should have to walk into spring training and he would have to win his job. He should have to compete with Oswald Peraza. He should have to compete with JC Escarra. He should have to compete with Ben Rice for a job on this bench. They don't have a third baseman. They don't. They do not have, I guess Jazz can play third, but you get my point. They don't have a fourth infielder. I don't want they can't sell you on they have one and that they're fine. They go wait to the deadline. They can't. And if they try to sell you on that, they're lying through their teeth, folks. They're lying through their teeth. Do not buy it. They need an infielder. Don't give me Jorge Polanco with the infield problem. At that point, just bring Glaber back. And this is on Hal and Cashman. I know a lot of attention's going to Hal right now, but Brian Cashman has told you time and time again, defense at second base was a problem. Glaber, problem. Yeah, we didn't want to extend them, blah, 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 so on and so forth. He signed a 1-year, $15 million deal. You don't have a second baseman. Signing Jorge Polanco is signing a crappier, less healthy, and older version of the guy you just said, no, that doesn't work for the Yankees. You know, have you seen the clip where Colin Cowherd's like, LeBron, we're good. Ben Simmons is here. Alex Bregman, we're good. DJ LeMahieu's here. I mean, come on. You're the New York Yankees. I'm not saying it's time to panic. I'm not saying it's time to call the offseason a failure. It's not that. But pressure's got to be on to get an infielder. I'm confident they do it. Maybe that's fan delusion. Maybe that's me just being an optimist. But I think they'll do it. But they have to. You cannot accept anything less than that. They have to provide you with an infielder who can field their position and provide at least league average offense.
I agree. And listen, they didn't trade any prospects aside from Caleb Durbin this year, right? Like, and then of course some draft picks for the Fried, contract, and because he was hit with the QO. I don't see a reason why the Yankees, and listen, it's as simple as this, right? If you don't want to spend money, Ryan, and you have Aaron Judge in their prime, you have Garrett Cole in their prime, you just handed a big contract out to Max Fried, and Ryan, you're the one that told me this specifically. Those pitching contracts, you want to maximize them in the first 3 years, right? Because they always end up aging quite poorly. You know, you want to maximize them in the first 3 years. So you got Aaron Judge, you got Garrett Cole, you got Max Fried, and you also have, Cody Bellinger could be gone next year, right? Because he could opt out of that deal. And you got Paul Goldschmidt on a 1-year contract. You don't make a whole bunch of 1-year deals with Goldschmidt and Bellinger to a degree, and then just stop at the finish line. You know what I mean? I'm still confident they're going to go get somebody because, Boone did throw in the word as of today, when he was talking about those infielders. So he left it a little bit open-ended. But if they don't want to spend money, it's going to have to be a trade piece. It's going to have to be someone they acquire. And obviously, our preferences if you're a FSY fan, if you love us. I'm not even going to say his name. You guys know who we want. But I'm trading prospects right now for that because you just inherited, or rather you just elevated last year, Austin Wells, Luis Heel, those guys were runner-up and the winner of the AL Rookie of the Year award, right? You still have Anthony Volpe pre-arbitration. You just promoted Jason Dominguez. Just promoted him. He's not even hasn't even played like 10 straight games yet. You know what I mean? Like the Yankees are littered with youth. Ben Rice, he could be your starting first baseman next year. A little bit of growth and development behind Goldschmidt. He could be your starter first baseman next year, right? You have so much core talent. Clark Schmidt still under arbitration. So, when you're looking at what the Yankees have in the base of youth and foundation that they've built with their young talent, I love Spencer Jones, so do you, but I would trade him today to get another big bat in the infield. Wouldn't even hesitate. Because Spencer Jones is not going to help us in 2025. He may never even help us at all, right? He may never become a great MLB player. We think he will, but we don't know. I'm trading unknowns for MLB-proven talent today because you wait a little too long, you think you have more time than you do, and Judge is no longer the MVP. And Cole starting to get a little injury prone. As you saw last year, there was signs of decline, right? You don't want to risk those things. You can't. We don't have time to risk those things. So the Yankees are being patient, and we're all getting a little flustered and annoyed because guys are getting signed, people are off the market. But the Yankees are just remaining patient, letting it come to them. Baseball hasn't even started yet, guys. Still got a month left before spring training even comes around. So, yeah, I'm not worried, but I do think that they need this upgrade, and I do think that it would be completely, malpractice to not get that next piece, to not solve the one need that we have. You get a big infielder. This team is the best in the American League, and it's really not even a question. Right now, you could argue, the Astros are there. They're hanging around. Of course, like the Guardians, they lost Naylor, but they're always hanging around. The Royals are a good team. They're hanging around. All it takes is one bad series and you lose in the postseason. You need to have that extra offensive weapon and that run prevention infielder. So I'm not panicking yet, but I will say the way the Yankees are operating and what we're hearing from insiders like Passan, and what we're hearing from guys like whether it be Michael Kay or whoever that has sources. We don't know if Michael Kay does, but like anybody else, we're hearing like the Yankees don't want to spend. They're not putting their money where their mouth is. Like, why are they not operating like the Mets or the Dodgers? Like, we're hearing these kind of inklings of truth, and that's a little bit turns me off a little bit. So I am a little bit concerned that they won't spend, but they don't need to spend. They can go acquire someone on the market pre-arbitration or in arbitration for pennies. So I'm not really too concerned until I see, what happens over the next couple months, Ryan. But, let you get your last thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Yankees, here's the thing, and this is kind of like, this is just reality at this point. The Yankees were the big market team. Now they're just a big market team. And that's on Hal. That's on him. That's 100% on him, because the Yankees are not the top financial dogs. They're not. Like, that's fact. Now, I get it. He's not a ownership group with like $400 billion in assets or whatever, and he's not Steve Cohen like $14-15 billion in assets. Hal Steinbrenner operates the Yankees, and that's his main source of revenue. Those ownership groups and Steve Cohen, they don't operate their teams as their primary source of income. It's a toy, almost. It's like a fun little thing they do on the side. You know what I mean? Which is it's just crazy to think about financially. I can't even fathom. It's just like, $300 million payroll because I'm just dicking around. I just have so much money. But, as it pertains to the Yankees, look, you're it's normal to sweat when guys go off the board and you don't have an infielder. It's not crazy to do that. That's not overreacting. It's not. Overreacting is like season's over. They won't play the playoffs, like whatever. But pressure's on the Yankees to get an infielder. It is. And my final point I'll make is that if they don't get an infielder, the offseason's a failure. If I told you on November 1st, day after we lose the World Series, I come back from the future, I say, Alex, Yankees losing Juan Soto and DJ LeMahieu is starting third baseman, you would say cancel the season. I would say cancel the season if that's all I knew about the offseason. Now, I don't think there's a bevy of moves that could be made that could justify that. And there's no moves the Yankees are going to make that are going to make that okay. So they have to fix third base. You lost Soto, you have to replace it with a complete, well-rounded roster. And, I also want to throw in here, the bullpen market, it's moving a little bit. You got to make sure they got a left-handed reliever. So, yeah, there's that. I mean, that's where I'm at. I don't know. They've got to make sure they have to finish this offseason. The offseason's not finished, and they have to finish it right now.
Yep. So we'll see what happens. We got you guys covered with any rumors and nuggets that continue to flow. Obviously, a little frustrated losing Kim on the market, but I didn't really expect the Yankees to spend anyway. I think they're more so going to look to the trade market to find a solution, but we'll see how things progress moving forward if they're managed to get rid of Stroman soon. But there's a lot left to happen, in my opinion. And, spring training is going to be great. Obviously, a lot of content we're going to create around that. I know Ryan and Sam are going to head down to Florida to gather some in-person stuff. You guys, if anyone's going to spring training, let us know in March. Love to meet up with you guys as always, but always happy to get your conversations down below in the YouTube comment section. Make sure to like, subscribe, as always, drop a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.
Perfect.